Hello and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian, and in this guide we're going to be introducing you to Crucible's many characters and modes, and hopefully helping you pick a great starting character when playing this game. There's a lot going on in Crucible, and it's a blend of a third-person shooter, a little bit of MOBA splashed in, and sometimes, in a specific mode, a little bit of Battle Royale. Crucible is a free-to-play Steam PC game that you can download today. While you play, as you control harvesters, basically rally points within the game, and get PvE enemy kills, they're going to drop a material called Essence. This is going to help you level up through the match. Now, what I personally enjoy is actually setting my build before the match is, so that while I'm playing the game, it really leaves me less to worry about on which upgrade that I want to take in the heat of the moment. So let's first dive into the characters, their abilities, and then I'm going to give you my recommendation for new players on what I personally feel suited my playstyle, but obviously I want you to take it and make it your own. So Crucible features 10 characters in which that you can pick when getting started. Now, if you click on the profile icon, it's going to bring you into your character selection and your skills upgrade. It's important to note that even if you change characters and you switch back, your essence upgrades are going to remain the same the way you set them before. It's actually very handy, but if you haven't played that character in a while, you might want to review your upgrades. You can also change these before the match and review them before the match as well while you're already in queue, so there really isn't going to be that much of a penalty. However, when the game starts, they are set and you can change them at a later time. So Mendoza here is your basic style Space Marine character. He's really good for starting out. I love his sprint. He's got a lot of movement ability, and that's where I think the most important thing that I prioritize is how does it feel to move around as the character and get through the level and more. So his basic fire is a pulse rifle shot. He's got a sprint that you can hold down to move faster. His kind of Q ability in this case is one of his abilities is supply drop. This is going to call down a med kit and a bunker. It will knock enemies back when you drop it on top of them, and also provide you with a free med kit, especially if you need one. His basic grenade is a flash grenade, which is going to blind enemies, and his alternate fire is actually aimed down sights, so you can have a little bit more range when playing this character. Now, as far as his essence upgrades, his level 1s, that's what you start with at the base. You've got your Teflon barrel. This is going to be rifle shots are 25% faster with 25% less damage fall off. If you don't know what damage fall off is in a shooter, typically the further the bullet has to fly, the less damage it will do. Another upgrade that you can pick for the level 1 is the MU-21 mini flash grenades. This is going to replace grenades with 3 mini flash grenades and increases its cooldown by 4 seconds, so you get a little bit more grenade action there. And then you have auto gun bunker. This is the supply drop, provides a turret rather than a med kit in that case. Your level 2 upgrade is going to have it to where you gain an additional 200 strength overshield, which regenerates once out of combat for 6 seconds. Your level 3, you got 3 options here. First option is the Mark 20 Oculoscope. Aim down sights is faster and more accurate. You also have the Headlong Rush. Knock back and damage opponents when sprinting. Your sprint speed increases from 8.5 to 9 meters per second. Or you can pick the Stimu Health Packs. Medkick applies in combat shield regeneration for 10 seconds. Your level 4 ability is Rifle Magazine increases from 24 to 30 rounds and reloads are 25% faster. And level 5 is your Hyperburst Chamber. This is going to be after reloading, the first 6 pulse rifle shots inflict 33% more damage, or your grenades have a burning damage area effect. You can see how I've partnered mini flash grenades with the burning flash grenade here, but obviously these are your choices. Play with them the way you want. All right, so now let's dive into Summer. She's going to bring the heat with base HP of 1200, 2 flamethrowers. I can't even say that for some reason. She's got the ability to use thrusters. She's able to use a cyclone, which is going to generate more heat. It's also going to perform a pattern of flaming magma and more. Then you've got your ignition spark. This is going to create a blast that knocks you and your opponents back, and it's going to generate heat. This is great for getting people away from you, obviously. And then her alternate fire is a fireball, which is going to have an explosive impact, and it generates heat. What is heat in this case? As you use these abilities, you're going to have a heat gauge that's going to fill up. If you overheat, you're going to have some downtime when using your abilities. So it's kind of a balance. Now, I felt like it was very generous in terms of heat. You could easily thrust twice, that's getting around the level pretty quick without overheating, and then having it cool down to be able to thrust again. So you're able to get and close the gap pretty easily. However, the risk and reward here is, even though you're on the tanky side, thrusting into action would leave you vulnerable. So you want to make sure that you kind of get a good range of that. Obviously, this is where her essence upgrades come into play. You've got your flamethrower range. I have a hard time saying that. FT range here is increased by 50%. I can't understate how actually important that is. It's pretty powerful because initially you got to be up close and personal to really take people on with this build. Then or you can also pick Refinery Blast. This is going to be creatures that are struck by your flamethrowers drop essence as they take damage. I can't understate, this is actually a decent amount of essence. If you're really trying to help kind of be more of a support level, this is going to feed a lot more essence to you and to your team. Then you've got your Thruster Pounce, jumping while using your Flame Pulse thrusters to drop the opponents, damage them, and knocking them back. This is great for closing the gap, especially if you're going to just burst in and then start melting everything down with your, with your weapon. We'll just say it that way. Then you've got your weapon inflicting 40% more damage, and your heat gauge is over 50%. So this is kind of that risk versus reward. Keeping your heat gauge over 50% is going to increase your damage output, but also running the risk of using an ability putting you in an overheat state, which won't let you continue on. Then you got some choices here. You got Incendiary Shot. Fireballs leave behind a burning area for 4 seconds, or you can pick your Magma Swarm. This is going to create 50% more flame projectiles and increase damage for 20%. And then you have Tuned Spark Coils. This is your Ignition Spark. It's going to knock back 50% and deflect projectiles while doing so. Your level 4 upgrade cooldown protocol, this is going to be time to recover from overheat, is decreased from 5 seconds to 4 seconds. And then the last level here goes to 11, maximum heat increased from 225 to 275. Or you can pick Quick Melee delivers 2 attacks for 40 damage and 40 dot damage each when overheated. I ended up going with the with the increased heat gauge, thus giving me more range and more damage in that case, but you can obviously pick what you want. One thing to note that I didn't mention with Mendoza is that there is more than 5 levels, but these are the 5 skills or level skills, etc. Every level is going to increase your base HP and damage and shields and things like that. So it's going to tell you as you level up what's going on in that regards. So now we jump into Earl. Earl is, it says, just Earl. He's a tank with a base HP of 1600, but you can upgrade that to 1900 if you want to take Big Rig along with you. He's very tanky, but and slow. Like when we connect it, he's slow as well. However, he does have the ability with L-Shift to be able to use his Afterburner. This is a lot of fun. Honestly, probably one of the most surprising things about Earl is when you boost with his rockets. Feels fantastic. Well, let's dive into his skills real quick. So fire, obviously he's got this giant, chain gun, and it's got different turbines that are going to fire, and you're going to kind of fill those up. So you kind of manage that. You can, in your upgrades, take even more, like ammo as a part of each of your pistons that are going to use to fire. So that's going to be up to you how you decide to use that. Afterburner is by far the coolest thing I think movement experience that I've had in a game in a long time, so I really love that. Tanking up is going to heal you immediately, and as you have upgrades, you can take it to where it actually restores any kind of status effect or dot that's on you as well. Then you have Blowback Vents. This is going to knock enemies back and block projectiles in the immediate area. So if you're getting overwhelmed, this is a great, skill to say, get the heck away from me. Then you have Upshift. This is going to be where you fire an explosive round and increases your turbo fire. Turbo fire is as you fire things, as you continue to fire, you're going to just get stronger and stronger with it. Basically, kind of that, that reward of not doing just little burst shots. You want to be able to try to set yourself up and put down a sustained amount of fire as Earl. So as a part of his essence upgrades, you have your first option. In this case, I really like having the 1900 HP, but you might want to take Turbo Fire does not deplete below 25%. Thus, you're always at a state of Turbo Fire, and you can go ahead and increase it from there. Or you can take maximum ammo increasing by 30, which would be 10 per piston, which is going to give you just an absurd amount of damage output over time. Then you could also have, or in this case, you don't get a choice, Nothing Wasted, increase the amount healed by medkits by 50%. Level 3 is where you do have a choice, and this is Directional Vents. Double the movement speed when using Blowback Vents, and increases the duration from 2.5 to 3 seconds. Or you can take the Scatter Blast Shot. This is Upshift. This is the AoE. This is where you use AoE increases by 50%, and it inflicts 50% damage as a dot. So again, Upshift is your right trigger ability. I like that. I like dots. in games, like I like choosing dots, so that's just my choice in that regards. Then you have X Turbo Draft. Tanking up fully charges your turbo fire, thus obviously bringing a little bit more value to tanking up, but at the same time also healing you, so it can really do a lot for you, especially if you're about to get like rushed by a couple targets. Your full throttle, this is Afterburner. It's going to knock back opponents, and it's actually going to stun them. It's important because I've made this mistake numerous times. Make sure you're on level 4 before you try to use the Afterburner and thinking that it's always on. That's where I think the MOBA kind of gets me sometimes. As I play, I get caught off guard because I'm like, oh wait, I was level 3. Ugh. And I thought I was level 4. So just kind of pay attention to your level. Afterburner is going to be there at that time. And so finally, that brings us to level 5, Star Ball Energy Drink. This is tanking up, it's going to heal 50% more and purges negative conditions. Or you can take Redline That Sucker. At maximum turbo fire, increases your rate of fire by 25% and projectile speed by 33%. Opponents do not block line of fire at maximum turbo fire. So now we come to Tosca, an angry evil genius that is super fun to play and super annoying to kill. Doesn't have a lot of life and a small clip for their gun. Tosca's got the ability to move around very quickly and easily with teleport, and as teleport evolves and gets upgraded, this is just going to become even more annoying to kill, but also again, lots of fun to play. Tosca's perfect for jumping in, jumping out, and it's good at close range, killing. However, it's important to note that they don't have a lot of base HP at 600 starting HP. So Tosca's main weapon is a scatter shot with acid bullets. This has a nice little dot of damage that is applied to it. You have your blink ability for your teleport. This is really great. Later it will actually allow you to have a couple options of things you could do with your blink by leaving little bombs in place of it. Like I said, Tosca super fun, super annoying. Then you have Electrocloud. This is going to create a smoke screen which disrupts enemy detection and blocks line of sight. Then you have X-ray goggles. This is going to immediately detect all opponents within 50 meters in front of you. And then finally you have Adhesive Alpha. This is going to throw explosive compound, inflicting damage and slowing the target. Now over here in our Essence upgrades, you've got level 1, Smuggler's Compartment. This is going to increase your starting medkits from 1 to 3, and your maximum medkit capacity is going to jump from 3 to 5. Or you can take Blink Booster. This is going to take your blink distance from 12.5 meters to 15 meters. Or you can take Finish Them. This is going to take your melee attack and transform up to 80 damage over time into actually immediate damage. Then on level 2, you've got Medical Mastery. This is going to decrease medkit activation time from 4 seconds to 3.2 seconds. On level 3, you've got 3 options. You have Rappy Shooter Stabilizer. Your scattergun fire rate is going to increase by 10%, and the kick on it is going to be reduced by 20%. Or you can take Z-Ray Lenses. This is going to take your X-ray goggles range and increase it to 65 meters, and also turn it into a 360 degree effect around you. And lastly, you have Alpha Spill. This is going to create an AoE as a part of your Alpha Spill skill for 8 seconds that's going to damage and slow enemies by 25% for 2 seconds. Then you've got Multi-Charge Blink Fest. This is going to be an upgrade to your blink from 2 charges to 3 charges. And then finally on level 5, you've got Explosive Teleport. When you blink, you're going to leave behind a bomb that detonates after 1 second, blinding enemies. Or you can take an upgrade to your Electro Cloud, which is going to increase the charges from 1 to 3 clouds. And it's going to be smaller, but it's also going to decrease the cooldown by 9 seconds. So now we move into Shakira. Shakira is a hybrid pistol and sword class. So you got pistol for your range and sword for your up close melee. There isn't really any travel mechanic for her. However, when using the sword, she's going to move a lot faster, allowing you to get around a little bit quicker than when you're carrying your pistol. And that's essentially what your L shift is going to be. It's going to be where you switch weapons, and that's going to toggle between your pistol and your sword, and that's going to be used with your main left click. Now, as far as her abilities go, you have Force Dome. This is going to create a dome that blocks enemy attacks and prevents enemies from crossing. And then you also have Hollow Shield. This is going to display a force shield that deflects projectiles and blocks melee attacks, allowing you to close the distance really quickly and safely as long as they're in front of you. And then finally, your left click ability is going to be Disrupting Strike or Aim Down Sights. In sword stance, you're going to unleash energy waves that disrupt your opponent, and in pistol stance, you're going to actually aim down sights for a little bit more accuracy. So now we move into our essential upgrades. You've got Extended Lunge. This is going to increase your sword attack range by 25%. Or you can take Starlock Capacitor. This is going to increase your maximum pistol energy from 6 to 8 shots, and that could be very valuable. Just keep that in mind. These two, I do kind of go back and forth on these two. And then finally, you have Noble Shield. Your Hollow Shield is going to be increased with its width, so it's going to protect you for a larger space, obviously in front of you, which can't be understated, especially if you're wanting to go with swords more than pistols. Then level 2 is your Empowered Deflect. This is going to where your deflected shots inflict 50% more damage towards the opponent. Then on level 3, you've got Synergistic Blade. This is going to increase your sword damage by 3% for each remaining shot of pistol energy. That can be really big. Or you can take Freeze Lock Pistol. This is going to slow your opponents by 10% for 1.5 seconds, up to a maximum of 30%. Or you can take Healthy Gambit. Abilities recharge 15% faster when your health is above 70%. Your level 4 upgrade is Force Dome Overcharge. Your Force Dome's health and duration increase by 50%. And then at level 5, you can say Strike the Heart, where Disrupting Strikes inflict 1500 damage over 3 minutes. Or you can take Restorative Dome. Your Force Dome heals you and your allies within it. So you have a lot of flexibility here in terms of damage, and also a little support utility here for Shakira. Now, personally, I wouldn't necessarily recommend Shakira as the first character that you try. I found that movement obviously is a key thing for me, and this is just my personal take. I would definitely recommend trying some of the other characters that can get around the levels faster, so you can get a better feel for getting into the action. I often felt myself with her is that unless I was with the group already and that's where the action was going down, I felt like I missed a lot of encounters right away, which could lead to, I guess, a good strategy for her is going and trying to capture different points or do different things. So depending on your playstyle, you might really be drawn to her for the sword and melee perspective. But if you're finding yourself getting frustrated, not knowing the map and more, you might want to switch to a character that's got a little bit more movement so you can get more familiar with the map in this game. So now we have to talk about Bug. Bug has got a base HP of 700, and he's a healer, a supporter, an annoyer. I really have enjoyed my experience with him. He's got a lot of flexibility with his movement thruster and more, and honestly, it's a character that you should definitely try if you're going to try out a handful of characters when starting this game. It's important to note that he has plants. He's got the ability to heal his party if he wants. It's all going to be about your Accession upgrades, so if you're running with your own squad and your own team, I would definitely recommend taking Bug in terms of being able to heal and also just provide just different traps and things like that on the level itself. But let's talk about his abilities and then go into his upgrades, because I feel like he's got the most flexibility when it comes to a build and how it transforms the way I play him. So first you have Spray. This is essentially where you're attacking opponents and activating your plants. This is your basic attack. Your thrusters are going to allow you to move forward and vertically. You can really get far and high with Bug. There's really nothing that's cut off from him, especially if you have the ability to thrust. Then you have Shield Burst. You, your seed pods, your plants, and nearby allies will gain a temporary overshield. You also have Crop Dust. This is going to create a slowing, damaging AoE beneath you. So if you're using thrusters, you can just go and crop dust these people, and you're going to slow them down, you're going to damage them. It's going to be really good. This is the annoying part, especially if you get caught in it. And then finally you have Seed Pod. This is going to fire a seed pod that can be activated by spraying. This is going to allow them and your seed pods to attack other targets, and they can obviously be killed, but what's interesting is that you can really get and mess up players with these things, because you might not see them. You could have a couple of them, and that's really going to fall into our essential upgrades. Alright, so on level 1, Onboard Diagnostics, your medkit now regenerates every 30 seconds, and it also creates a healing area for you, your plants, and your allies, allowing you not just to heal yourself every 30 seconds, but those around you. Or you can take Early Bloomers. Seed pods do not have to be watered in order to be activated. So these are going to be automatic, ready to go on the attack for you. Or you can take High pH Mixture. Spray damage is increased by 25% as a dot. So that's going to make you more on the aggressive, on the attacking side. You do have a lot to play around with here. So if there's more than one bug and you're on voice with them, maybe you kind of play around with your build. In your level 2 upgrades, Re-Ally Gyros. Normal movement increases from 4.5 to 5.5 meters per second, so you can get around much easier. Then on level 3, you could say Tend and Protect. Your shield burst amount is increased by 50%, or you can have your seed pods automatically spawned with overshields, thus making them live longer and taking, allowing you to put out more damage. And then you have Blooming Blossoms. Plants can be watered until they are overcharged, and then that will have them stun nearby enemies. Level 4, your Crop Dust now applies vulnerability to your targets. And at level 5, High Grade Biofuel grants the initial burst of speed when using your thrusters, or Daisy Chain, your plant attacks can actually chain to one additional target, thus making it very annoying to fight, especially if you get caught in all the chaos with bug around. So now we come to Drakkhal, the Insolent. He is a up-close, in-your-face melee attacker with a couple of ranged options to help close the gap or essentially grab his target. So he is fierce. There's a lot of options here, but let's go ahead and break down the skills for us real quick. You have Chop. This is his basic swinging attack. This is his melee attack, but you got to be up close and personal. To help close the gap, you've got Rush. This is going to dash you in the direction that your camera is facing. It does have a little bit of a longer cooldown, but you can kind of augment that if you wish with your build setup. Then you have Enraged. This is going to augment your Chop into a life-stealing claw attack, or it's going to augment your Sonic Pulse into a ranged grab attack. Also, with the Renaissance Axe, basically it's going to turn your Chop into a spinning AoE attack with a dot that's going to affect the targets in the area, or you jump up and slam down to the ground for a stunning area effect. So that's really handy. It gives you a lot of options and flexibility with him in this case. I really like the Renaissance Axe. It's really fun pulling that off. Then you also have Sonic Pulse. This is a ranged attack for your axe, so that way you're not necessarily always going to have to be up close and personal, especially if they're running away when they're weak. And that's why, hopefully that you've got a dot on them, and then you can see them just kind of fade off into the distance, and you can go move on to, I guess, meteor prey, so to speak. So let's go ahead and talk about our essence upgrades here. We've got Second Wind. This is going to be when you successfully chop, you're going to actually reduce your cooldown of Rush by 1 second. This is handy, especially in packs of enemies, because if you get a lot of hits on it, you can kind of do a lot of different rushing around, hitting the multiple targets. However, you can take Maiming Blow. This is where your chop is going to inflict a dot against targets with less than 50% health. Or you can end up taking Get 'em Gutted. This is going to be quick melee, causes vulnerability for 3 seconds. Now your level 2 upgrade is just going to be 25% incoming normal damage to you actually becomes a dot. So that's going to be very handy, especially when surviving encounters and allowing you to mitigate some of that damage and turning it into damage over time. And hopefully you can survive and heal through it. Now your level 3 is you have Okay Now I'm Mad. This is going to be a damage multiplier of 15% when you're below 50%. Or you can take Blood Tracker. You can detect targets with a dot within 80 meters of you. Or you can take Incoming. Sonic Pulse destroys enemy projectiles. Now the reason I chose Blood Tracker is because with my Maiming Blow and they have a dot, if the enemy decides to try and run and hide, I'm going to be able to keep them on my radar and keep tracking them and hunt them down. That's kind of what I feel with this guy. I feel like he's that hunter, that very aggressive style in your face kind of character. Level 4 is going to be Push Through the Pain. Damage does not interrupt your medkit use. Very handy, especially if you need to heal. And then level 5, Abs of Plasteel. This is Enraged, is going to make you invulnerable for 1.5 seconds. Great when you're in a pack and surrounded. Or you can have Sonic Pulse slow targets by 25% for 3 seconds. So these are really good options, especially if you got a target running away from you. You want to hit them with Sonic Pulse, slow them down. You'll be able to catch up to them and hopefully finish off the job. So now we come to Rahi and Brother. Rahi and Brother are a set, and with this he can teleport, especially to his brother. You get to set it and kind of forget it and then teleport to him. It's really handy, especially if you need to get out of the situation. But at a base, he is a tank with 1400 HP as his starting life. Where Rahi is different from Earl is that it's more focused on shields, not just applying them to yourself, but to others. And then you can follow that shield up with a punch melee with his alternate attack. So you have a little bit of balance with his tank style, more utility based, but obviously his shields come into play and continue to regenerate. So as far as the weapon skills go, you've got Knuckle Duster Laser Beam. This is going to fire laser for piercing damage, and attacks generate small amounts of shields. You're going to have to keep this locked on target, very focused-esque. Now, you can use Scouting Ahead and To the Rescue. This is where you take your brother, in this case, and you put him in a location. Now, the next time you fire it off, you're going to actually teleport to your brother's location. So if you want to be able to kind of move around or bamboozle your target in a way, you could end up placing your brother someplace, teleporting if it gets sticky, and then you could kind of come at them from another angle, and maybe they won't expect it. Then you have Laugh It Off. This is going to gain a personal shield, which is going to increase over time. Then you have Shield of Justice. This is going to send projectiles to actually shield your allies and blind enemies in its path. And then finally you have Knuckle Duster Force Punch. Heavy melee attacks drains your personal shields to deal additional damage. So now let's dive into our essential upgrades. So you have Continual Overshield, passive shield regeneration of 6 shields per second. Or you can take Justice for All. Shields of Justice is larger and actually will travel further. Or you can take Concussive Punch. Force Punch creates a projectile, increasing its range to 20 meters. At level 2, you can take Laser Precision. This is your Knuckle Duster. It's going to deal more damage the longer it remains connected to any target. So you want to really keep that as a focus for this character. Your level 3, you have Overtune Tune-Up. Brother Shields maximum increased to 300. Or you can take Shields Up. Shield of Justice grants additional shields. And finally, you could also choose Pushing the Boundaries. Force Punch can extend up to 150 shields, increasing damage output to a maximum of 300. Level 4 is going to be All-In Timing. Laugh It Off movement speed and shields granted are increased. And then finally, level 5, Knuckle Duster Charge Up. Your Knuckle Duster Laser Beam now hits and generates additional shields. Or you can take Save the Day. When Rahi lands To the Rescue, he knocks back nearby enemies and grants nearby allies 150 strength shields. Now, personally, my daughter really likes it when I play Ajoina here. She likes how I move around. She likes the character's look. Obviously, she likes that it's a girl. You know, my daughter being 6 years old really thinks this is a cool looking character. I like to think of it kind of that bow wielding style character, even though the game calls it a harpoon as her main weapon. Swinging around with her grappling hook is a little bit like Spider-Man, so it's a lot of fun to kind of play around with her. I would recommend her as a starter, like the first one you log in and play as. However, she's somebody you might want to experience at least once or twice before making a decision on who you decide to really spend more time with. Alright, so let's dive into our skills here. You have Hip Fire. This is just your main fire ability. You've got your grappling hook. This is going to be your retractable hook that allow you to hold and swing around and gain a lot of momentum and be able to navigate as well. Then you have Jamming Shroud. This is going to deploy a device that jams detection in the area, and you can use to tap again to actually detonate the shroud itself. You can also use Squid Mind, creates a mine that follows the target and explodes, slowing opponents down. And then your right aim is going to be aim down sights. This is going to hold to improve your harpoon's accuracy and increase damage, but it will slow down your movement. In your Essence upgrades, level 1, you've got Expanded Quiver. This is going to increase your maximum ammo by 2. Or you can take Seize Bounty. Squid mines are thrown at increased range and number of squid mines increases by 1. Or you can take Tidal Reach. Grappling Hook grants an additional charge but reduces its range and increases its cooldown by 2 seconds. At level 2 you've got Deadly Shroud. Detonating an active jamming shroud inflicts damage and knocks back targets. At level 3 you can pick Dazzling Burst. This is going to be where critical hits actually blind your target. Or you can pick Heal in Shadows. This is going to heal you for 20 points a second when you're cloaked. Or you can take Safe Harbor, increases speed 10% when within the jamming shroud, and this also includes your allies. At level 4 you can say Bend with the Reefs. You gain a cloak for 1.5 seconds after using your grappling hook. And then at level 5 you can pick Neurotoxic Venom. Squid mines have increased slow duration. Or you can say Strike the Head, increase critical hit multiplier from 2.5 to 3.0. It's important to note that in the world there are certain objects, kind of yellow pods, that will provide a cloak for you as well as your grappling hook. So this can kind of come into play if you'd like to be cloaked as this character. So finally, and last but not least, we come to Zazan. She is a good counterpart to essentially Captain Mendoza because she also is that kind of space marine style character, able to move around. She's got some dashes. They can do a couple different charges at later levels. And honestly, it's a pretty cool class to play, but she's got an interesting mechanic where her abilities are all about switching out weapons, and she doesn't ever reload. Her weapons reload whenever she's switching them out, forcing you into that kind of mid-range, close range, really close range, or even at a far with the knife itself. It has a couple flexible options there, but then back and forth, back and forth. So you can see that in her main attack. It's that you're going to attack with your equipped weapon. Your shift attack, your boost, is just going to be a dash in the direction of that you are moving. Then you have your inertia gun. This is going to equip your inertia gun. This is your basic, I guess you think, assault rifle that's going to have an attack, and it's really, really powerful, especially at mid-range. Or you want to switch to your shotgun. This is going to be where you fire short-range bursts, and obviously switching your weapons is going to recharge its energy. And then finally you have your electro knife. This is going to apply a long-lasting dot upon hit, and it's going to recharge, obviously, your weapon energy. So if you think of your Q, your E, and your right click, that's going to be kind of a cycle, and you can kind of choose which ebbs and flows that you want to start with. You want to start with your knife because you can throw it, then you'd shift your inertia gun, and then as you dash in and close, you can finish them off with your shotgun at close range. So really interesting class. I'd say start with Mendoza, but you definitely, if you like Mendoza, if you like that style of gameplay, you gotta try Cezanne. You might be impressed. It is a little bit of a unique situation to get used to the weapon swapping mechanic, because ideally you're never really reloading. You're just having to manage your distance to your target the best way possible. So let's dive into her essence upgrades here. Level 1, you can see pretty much on all levels, I'm sticking with the base defaults here for now. So you have restorative exchange. When you swap weapons, you're going to heal 20 health. Or you can take Electro Knife, is going to detect targets within 25 meters on impact to see what else is coming up around you. Or you can take Taking Cover, completing interaction, or using a medkit is going to cloak you for 5 seconds. At level 2, you get Fully Engaged. Swapping weapons is going to grant a short-term passive abilities, like your Electro Knife gets a cloak, your shotgun is going to get a speed boost, and your inertia gun is going to give you 150 in shields. At level 3, you can pick 3 options. Capacitor Overflow. Swapping weapons is going to gain you 6% damage boost for 10 seconds. Or you can take Full Blast Shot. Shotgun is going to knock back your target, and it's more accurate. And then finally, you could also pick Cut and Run. Jet Dash is going to inflict 60 damage and 60 dots to your opponents. Level 4, Go the Extra Mile. Number of dashes is going to increase from 1 to 2. And then at level 5, you're going to see Upping the Voltage, which is going to gain you 33% extra energy per weapon, and it's going to increase your Electro Knife damage by 33%. Or you could take Disruptor Charge. Your first shot with your inertia gun disrupts your target's abilities for half a second, thus kind of canceling out what they're trying to do. So as we talk about the 3 different game modes that are currently in the game, at the front page you've got Heart of the Hives and Alpha Hunters. If you're curious about what you need to do and you don't want to have to go rewatch this whole video, just click the overview. It's pretty good at explaining it. Alpha Hunters is kind of the battle royale mode. You and a friend are going to fight basically to the last man standing. If you lose a friend, you can ally up with another person who's got a one-man squad as well. However, as it kind of whittles down, those tides will turn, and eventually you're going to end up facing off against each other as well. A little bit of Hunger Games. Heart of the Hives is going to have you kill giant hives and claim their hearts. So 3 hearts each, you fight the hives, and then you got to, like, obviously it's kind of capture the flaggy as well against another team. And then under Arcade, you have Harvest Master Command. This is going to have you capture harvesters, of which there are 5. And then out of who controls those, you're going to be getting points for every period of time. Think of you, the more you control the zones, they're going to feed you with points. You also get points for killing those on the other enemy squad. At the end of the match, it's going to show you how many points you got in the harvester and how many points you got per kill. But you definitely want to control these zones, if you will, because that's where the majority of your points is going to come from. So you'll see them on the map. You're going to be able to find them, and you know, it'll tell you who's basically winning. These matches can end up being a little bit longer, and personally I would say maybe start with Harvester Command if you're trying to learn the game and the character, because it's going to give you a lot of time to play in it. It's going to give you the respawns. It's going to let you fill it out, the character, and kind of get that good feel for the game itself. But with that, those are the modes. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Hopefully I've done a good job breaking down the characters and their skills and kind of explaining it. And the best way to go about and go from here is to download the game, check it out for yourself. Hit up their Discord. They're looking for bug reports and also suggestions for the game itself. I've gone in and given several about this game. It's just getting started. This is a big push by Amazon, so it'll be interesting to see how it performs. This is one of 2 big releases for Amazon later this year. We're going to be seeing New World, an upcoming action MMORPG. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays as well. At the end of the day, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This has been Brian for Ginger Prime. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have an incredible day, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.